Hey, what's up, people? It is your boy Cam,
And your boy Roy, as always.
and we here with another episode of Scare Money Don't Make Money. The show where it's just two military recruiters who just love recruiting a little bit too much, trying to learn the civilian sector a little bit too much, learning the civilian sector, trying to understand the differences, trying marketing, recruiting, sales, anything in between, the psychology, whatever. But today we have an awesome guest. I'm gonna let him introduce himself because I always feel like the best representation. But I've watched him on LinkedIn. I've been learning a lot from him. One of the things I'd like to talk about during the show too is the whole talent access thing. I listened to that. That was great. Loved it.
Thanks,
so,
man.
but yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, Adam, to our viewers, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. Cameron and Roy, thank you first and foremost for having me on the show. Greatly appreciate it. I love to collaborate, man. I mean, that's what it's really all about. There's no competition in this space. It's all about collaborating and meeting new people and sharing ideas. So thank you on that one. Yeah, quick introduction. Adam Posner. I am the founder and managing director of NHP Talent Group. We're a boutique talent access consultancy located here in New York, specializing in all things marketing, media, ad tech, product, and e-commerce. So I work with brands, I work with agencies, and pretty much everything in between. And we're essentially a white label extension of their in-house hiring team. So I still do a little bit of contingency, as we like to say, but I also, my bread and butter is really in-house hourly retained recruiting, myself and my team. That's what we do. We partner with companies to really help them accelerate. A little bit of background on me: 15 years working in advertising and marketing here in New York. Worked at big brands like American Express, SIRIUS XM satellite radio, all in account management, digital strategy, social strategy. I worked at a bunch of ad agencies. I worked in food, everything from food service, fast moving consumer goods. And then my last stop in the ad world is working for Gary Vee over at VaynerMedia before I had a career epiphany and pivoted into the world of recruiting. And I did that about 5.5 years ago. Spent 3 years working at search firms, learning the art and science of recruiting, learning how to be a recruiter. What we do, right? I mean, you got to learn how to do it, right? You can't just jump in. I mean, even that's what I did. And then 3 years ago, I said, screw it, F that. I am done working for other people. And I launched NHP Talent Group, and I haven't looked back. And aside from doing all that, as you alluded to before, I am the host of ThePOZcast. Almost 100 episodes coming out, 100 coming out in 2 weeks. I also host a live show, and thrilled to be here with you guys.
Nice. Yeah, and that's so as you'll learn, as we talk, so I came into recruiting in 2014. Roy had already been there, and he was actually my trainer. That's how we kind of met. I was the new dude on the block. Loved to talk, but I had no sense of chill. So Roy was my guy. That kind of really got me into everything and was helping me.
Awesome,
and
man.
We've, kind of been going since. He's still on active duty, and I am in the Air National Guard.
Awesome.
And so,
and thank you for your service, guys. I mean, that's a real commitment, right? I mean, that's awesome. So thank you to you guys for protecting us and really standing up for what this country is, man.
No, and we have a great time with it. I think we both enjoy it quite a bit. Obviously, that's why we kind of started the podcast. And Roy is he's kind of the slower, like he said, he's the notebook guy. He writes down notes. He does research. I'm like, let's jump. And he's like, well, let's bend our legs first. Then we extend. then we're going to go in.
Right.
So, but it works out well for our show, especially, when we talk to individuals like you who have made those pivots and who have, you started out in something completely different. And so, as I've learned, as you've seen through LinkedIn, I'm always liking stuff and whatever. I always tell him about it. And so I was like, yo, I got us another host. He's great. He's totally, whatever. And I've tried to really do a good job of bringing people like yourself who have either made those pivots or started out. So, Roy, what you got, man? I know you got your little notebook.
Oh yeah, I got my notebook. I'm just trying to. So my biggest thing, what made you do that transition 5 years ago? Just that jump to make that change.
Yeah, I mean, I was pushed. So it's interesting. I'll take you back to that, right? So, I spent 15 years in advertising and in account management, right? And I thought it was what I was good at. I thought it was something that I was passionate about. But when I found myself, I landed over at VaynerMedia. I'm sure, you guys have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk. It's a household name. I thought I was at the promised land. I thought that this was the dream job. I thought it was everything. But to be honest, guys, the grass was not greener on the other side. Yeah. And it's a combination of two things. One, I was a different man than I am now. Right. That was almost 6 years ago. I didn't have a lot of the EQ, right? I didn't have the self-awareness. I didn't have all those pieces. And, I thought I was better than I was. And ultimately what it boils down to, I didn't do the job that I was hired for. I didn't respond well to feedback. I didn't course correct. I didn't do the things that I needed to do to be in a position of success. And ultimately I lost my job. Right. And I got fired. Yeah. And it wasn't until that day when I sat there with Gary and Gary said to me, Adam, you need to stop focusing on the things that you suck at and double down on your strengths, that I really had to look inside. Yeah, I had to look inside and say, all right, what am I good at? What do I suck at? And why am I wasting time trying to fix things that either I suck at or I don't have a passion for doing? And Gary sat with me and he said, like, what do you enjoy doing? And I love doing what we're doing here. I'm a relationship guy. I know marketing and media. I know advertising. And he's like, well, what are you going to do with that? And I started to say to him, I'm like, listen, I got a couple of friends that do healthcare recruiting. I have another friend that does finance recruiting. And before I could finish that sentence, Gary turned to me and he said, you'd be a freaking awesome. I'm saying freaking, that's not the F he said. He said, you would be an awesome recruiter. And I thought about it. I went home. I drank away my sorrows for about 2 days. I'm not going to lie. It was bad, man. It was because it was failure. It was failure on an ultimate level. I had to go back and tell my wife that I lost my job that I was only at for 7 months. I had to tell my friends that I was hyping up this job. I'm working for Gary V. It was awesome. And I lost it. And I lost a great opportunity. And I was ultimately really upset with myself. And I had to really think, what was next for me. And that was difficult, but all signs pointed towards recruiting, and I haven't looked back, man.
No, that's dope. And and I think, and I, obviously as I listen to podcasts and I see your guys' posts and stuff, one of the things I actually listened to, is it Steve Noodleberger? I don't want to mess
Steve Noodleberg. Yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to that episode and I loved, like, at the end, you were like, hey man, what's your, like, you're doing all your shows. What's your piece of advice? And he said, wouldn't it suck to climb the corporate ladder and the ladder is against the wrong building? And I said that, I said it to Roy. I said, bro,
just good shit.
I feel like this is exactly where you and I are at, because Roy was an electrician in the Air Force. I was a transportation guy, like I loaded planes, and we were both very good at our jobs. But once we got into recruiting, we were like, this is where we belong.
Yeah, you found your calling, right?
Same thing, relationships, and then just, the overall freedom of it all. And no, I definitely feel you on that. What you got? He's muting himself because all the background noise. So
where are you? Are you in Cabo? Where are you, man? I see a tiki. There's a tiki hut behind you. I'm expecting the waitress to come with some kind of frozen cocktails. Or is that your backyard and you literally just have a tiki bar in your backyard, which is even better, man?
I real life do have a tiki bar in my background. I am by the beach. One of the perks of being a recruiter, you get to travel and experience different things. And just listening to what you were talking about earlier, it's just like, you had 15 years in advertisement, account management in New York, and then you made that pivotal change. But that fear, I think one of the biggest things, failure a lot of times open up opportunities that we would 100%. Never expected. And I think that's kind of like how, even as recruiters, sometimes we have to open up people's eyes and inspire them and get them to understand, like, hey, this may not be an opportunity that you were looking for, but you might want to consider it because it can lead you down to a bigger path that you would have never got to. 100%. So,
yeah, it was scary, man. I made a decision to change jobs, to change careers, to change a career path, and I knew, I'll tell you something real deal here, man. Like, I was scared. I was 35 years old. I was like, I'm going to start a new profession. I'm going to start something new here. And I knew I had to learn. I knew that there was going to be like training, which I hate training. And I'm talking to two military guys here. Like, I hate learning. Like, I think I know it all, right? But I knew that I had to learn. And I don't think if I did this, at 22 years old, I would be in the same position. But I knew that there was things I needed to learn. I needed to learn how to be a recruiter. I had an idea in my head, right? I thought, all right, it's not that hard. You know, you have a job, you have you find the right candidates, and you know, square peg, square hole. That's the way it works, right? But as you guys know, there's so much more to it. You need to learn the techniques, the tricks, the let's talk about the science, right? You need to learn, you know, the data points, the tracking, how to use all your sourcing tools and everything. And then the art of it, the art of the conversation, the art of understanding a candidate's motivation, understanding their why. Why are they looking to change positions? And on the flip side of it with the client, what is the client truly looking for? What are those attributes? And I didn't know any of this stuff, you know, 5.5 years ago, and I needed to learn it, but I picked it up quickly. And luckily for me, I had the network, I had the insight of, I was hiring for marketing roles. I mean, these are roles that I was in before, so I didn't have to learn that. I didn't have to learn the industry. So I was able to put that focus and energy, my limited OCD energy and focus, into learning the science of it, right? How to be a damn good recruiter.
Yeah. No, I think I know. Like I had that conversation today, actually. Like I was telling you earlier, is, you know, I was talking to an applicant, you know, for my day job for the, you know, the military, and you know, we're talking about their National Guard's a little bit different sometimes, is we're able to kind of let people not necessarily choose, but they have more of an option of like what their position is going to be in the military. But at the same time, you know, I'm very big on, but you should always be okay with the organization, because what happens if you go to school and you fail? Then, you know, then you're sitting in an organization that you don't want to be in, because your life didn't pan out the way you thought it was going to pan out over the next, you know, 6 months. But it's, you know, just like you said, like, what is your why? Like, you have to hold up. Like, and I think as military recruiters, a lot of times we do have to explain that, because
100%,
you know, and it helps us, and it has helped me thus far as I've started to kind of navigate the civilian recruiting network, is finding out the whys, because I've had to do it just so, you know, so in depth as we, you know, we've recruited for the military.
Yeah, 100%.
And I know Roy is always trying to explain. He's always trying to explain that to people, huh, Roy?
It's different. It's a different game.
All the time. I mean, because I think I think you just hit it on the nail when you said the art and the science. I always say that, like, talking to people, engaging with people, trying to understand people. That's what it really goes back to, like the psychology of it, and just trying to find that deeper understanding. And it's just, for me, being in it for this long, I just have a deeper understanding now that has just taken me a whole much further. I tried to use a big word. Cam.
Yeah, he does that. He doesn't have it. We call it his smart glasses. He tries to use big words, but then he reverts.
I do that all the time. And I'm thinking of the word. I'm gonna sound smart when I say this word, and then I'm just like, screw it. I forget the word. I'm just gonna just say anything.
Yeah, mess it up all the time. So, like, I think we forget. Like I always say, is 90% art and 10% science. Doing paperwork and facilitating certain things, that's repetitive. But trying to understand people, and like Cam, he said, he recruited health professions, so I'm pretty sure he had to do a change of methodology to incorporate the basics that he know, to be able to talk to doctors and the nurses and stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out, like, for you didn't have a recruiting background at all, except for advertising and account management. So how did you jump head first into, like, health professions recruiting without the baseline knowledge? Because, like, to me, that's kind of dope. I want to do it.
No, I don't know. I recruit for marketing and advertising. I don't recruit for healthcare.
Yeah, he was saying he had friends.
Yeah. So I mean, it was one less hurdle for me. You know, it was one less hurdle for me, and I was able to. I mean, it was pretty cool though, because I was able to have conversations with candidates on the candidate level and really grill them and see if they were blowing smoke up my ass or if they really knew what the hell they were talking about, because I could give them real examples. And on the flip side of it, when I talked to clients, I was able to talk shop with them. Like, I could really dig in and understand the role, because a lot of the roles that I was recruiting for and still am, I've done before. So you're able to have that competitive advantage, and it's also speed to market, right? You're able to get out there quicker and do it.
So what do you think was probably some of kind of like the real deep down lessons, like when you first started, you feel like you still either like use today or really helped form kind of how you do business?
Yeah. Well, there's two things, and it kind of goes back to that art and science kind of thing there too, right? I'm a big believer. The first day of recruiting, my mentor, a gentleman by the name of Tom Hull, my Roy, right, the guy who taught me right? The guy who taught me, he said something before we even started. He goes, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, every day when you start, repeat this mantra: plan your work and work your plan. Plan your work and work. It's very military-esque, right? Plan your work and work your plan. I repeat that every single day. And what that does, it keeps me focused. So I'm old school, man. I'm either writing in my notebook, or most of the time it's on Post-its on my desk, and I have a to-do list, right? And there are a couple of words here and there, and I know that I have to do that. And if I get through 75, 80%, listen, curveballs come all day. I got 2 little kids. Life is happening. But if I get through 75, 80% of the shit that's on my to-do list, it's a good day. The best day for me, and I had it yesterday, is when I take that Post-it and I crumple it up and I throw it in the garbage, because I did everything I needed to do. So staying focused and organized, I think, is really number one. And I think the other part that you really have to get into when you get into recruiting is, I heard this a lot before my first day, but it is a roller coaster. There's the wins, the losses, the ups and downs, the highs. You got to ride the high, and you got to know that low is going to come back, right? You know that there's going to be good days and bad days, and you know that there's going to be wins and losses. And you can't, every day is not going to be gravy, man. There's going to be some really tough days. And those are the days that make you stronger. Those are the days when you know you can take your punches, build those calluses, and know how to take a punch. Because now you know next time when that punch is thrown, you're going to block it, deflect it, and punch back twice as freaking hard. Yeah. Right. That's what you learn, man. That's what no one teach. No one can, people could talk it, right? It's all game until you actually get in the ring, right? Until you get in the recruiting ring, you're not going to know that stuff. Yeah. And I've only been doing, I've only been doing this for 5 years, which is a spit in the bucket compared to a lot of people. But I feel that I've been through battle, man. I've been through a lot of stuff, and I'm able to articulate it and help other recruiters.
Yeah, so everyone's got a plan until they get punched.
Right, everyone's got a plan until you got punched in the mouth, right?
That's it. So, like, what were some of the things that, like, helped you overcome those hurdles and those battles and, like, push through? Because, honestly, what it really comes down to, failure is one thing, but quitting, that's a whole nother gamut. So, a lot of people, like, decide to quit. So, like, how did you just stick it out without going crazy?
Couple things, man. Well, first and foremost is the word tenacity. That's something that's a core to everything that I do. If I had knuckle tats, right? If I was ever gonna get knuckle tats, it would literally say, or if I got like the under my lip thing, right? The lip tat, like it would say tenacity, because that's what I believe in. Because and I talk about it a lot on my show. Like, tenacity is my fire. Tenacity is my why. Tenacity is what I had to dig down deep inside when I was at the bottom of that well, man, and I had to pull myself up, and that's tenacity. And it's really about having your North Star. That's another thing I talk about on my show. Like, my central point, my North Star, my compass, if I'm ever down and if I never need to pull myself up, or if I ever want to show gratitude to my 2 kids, right? That's my reason for why. And we talk about failure, Roy. And for me, it was really interesting. Throughout my whole life, until I launched my own business, there was always a backup plan, right? If I'm not good here, if I don't like this, there's another agency, there's another job, there's something else in advertising I could do. But when I launched my own business, I remember it was like a couple of days in, one of my friends is like, well, what are you going to do if this doesn't work out? And I go, that's not an option. It's not. I go, it's not an option, because once you start thinking about a plan B, you're already admitting defeat. You already have it in your head and you're already thinking about it. And I've never for 1 second, even on the worst days, even when I feel like I've lost all my clients, whenever I feel like things are down, I never have that thought of failure, because it's not a freaking option. It's not on the table. Yeah.
No, I feel that, especially like, so, because I'm trying to set myself up for when I retire. I have, I'm at 14 years now. I got, my 6 years left to retirement. And
crazy.
So, I was a kid who barely graduated high school. I always tell people all day, me and Roy have a joke where I went from failing lunch to owning a house in California, because it was the same thing. I'm at
failing gym class.
No, literally, I almost failed high school because I didn't wear my uniform, and they were only giving me half points, and I didn't realize it until 3/4 of the way through my senior semester, and they were like, "You're gonna fail high school because," and I'm an only son to a single mother, 14 different schools growing up. Same thing when I joined the military. I was like, failure is not an option, and so now it's kind of the same thing. But
I love it.
My mom is going, she's going through her process, and I see other people who are going through employment processes, and I'm like, I don't want to do this shit when I get out, man. Like, that's why, I'm doing this recruiting thing now, and it has to succeed, because I don't want to get out of this shit and be like, hey, here's employer number 250. Here's my application.
No, you don't want that. It's a mindset, man.
No, yeah, exactly. And I know Roy, me and Roy are in the same boat as that. Is, we're not necessarily waiting for retirement, but we 100% want to be ready for it.
Yeah, man. No, it's true. It's mindset. And people throw around the word mindset. Right. I mean, it's one of those cliches, man, like mindset, right? But when you're talking about mindset, you have to give real life examples, so people could wrap their head around it.
Correct. And and I think that's what we really try and get when we talk to people on the show, because one thing that I think me and Roy have realized is, in this world of military recruiting, we're in a little bubble. Like, I remember, especially once I did healthcare recruiting for, I'm talking to doctors, nurses, things like that. But like you said, collaboration, I'm really big on that. I'd go to a conference and I'd walk over, to, Highmark, recruiting table, the hospital. And I'd be like, hey man, let's chat. Like, what do you guys do? Like, what are you guys saying? And, they're all weird about it. Like, what are you doing, man? And I'm like, dude, it's all good, bro. Like, I just want us all to succeed, man. Like, I'm a military dude. Like, I'm never going to be competition for you. Like, but we can go have lunch.
It's the abundancy mindset, right? That there's enough fish for everybody, right? It's the abundancy mindset. And, there is something to competition. I mean, competition's healthy. And I mean, it's a drive. There's parts of it too, but there's also unhealthy and unnecessary competition. Some things you don't have to compete about, like the same shit with podcasting, man, right? Like I talk to a lot of big podcasters, and some of them have they're very closed off and everything. And I'm like, who cares? I'm like, there's 500 million people listening to podcasts. Like, your ego's a little too big if you're thinking that I'm your competition.
Yeah, and it's been welcoming, man. Obviously I reached out to you. You were super great. I think that's one more thing that has made me want to stick with recruiting is
that's cool.
Since I've reached out to people, asked people to get involved, I haven't had anybody turn away. Everyone's been super welcoming, and it's been great. But I'm definitely super big on let's all prosper, man. Like,
collab over compete.
Yeah, exactly. Collab over. Oh, what's that? Oh, Roy's gonna say his little thing now that he always says.
I like that though. I like collab over compete. So I might use that one a whole lot more. But my boss,
that one's free.
Said, that one's free. I like that. Communicate, collaboration to connect. So that's his 3C model. He always.
I like it, man.
To me. So I mean but. As we always talk about it does reign true. It's just, but I like that collab versus compete, because, like you said, there is a unhealthy competition sometimes where, we always say, competition, it is good, but I think in a lot of cases, too many people take it to that unhealthy level. It's no different than a person who's a fan of a team and they just go crazy, yo, you're not even playing. You're not even in the game, and or don't even know how to play the sport at all, but yet you're going crazy. So we have people like that in different organizations.
My friends are like, if you saw my WhatsApp message channel for our fantasy football, man, it's ruthless. It's ruthless. Ruthless. I'm like, you freaking couldn't even hold the water boy's freaking water, right?
And that's definitely where it's at as far as the collab over compete. I'm definitely gonna have to use that one. So, question for you is, as far as marketing terms, because obviously you're on LinkedIn and you see how it's kind of evolving, and I've been trying to push that a lot to my service member compadres. Is you guys got to start doing this. This is where it's happening. I'm not saying you got to be posting stuff every day, but you need to establish yourself professionally. Right. What of evolution would you say that you see happening currently? I don't want to say just because of COVID, because I know you always talk about that on your show, but just in general, what evolution do you see coming?
As far as
as far as the way LinkedIn's being used as a tool, because obviously now because of COVID, it's really
right, because people are home and people can't be networking like they need to, right? So I think that a simple fact, there's incredible organic reach on LinkedIn from a professional standpoint. But there's also the other weird side of it too, where a lot of folks who, I don't want to say not professional, but they're attention seekers, right? They're eyeballs, they're grifters, they're trying to sell you something. There's a lot of negative stuff on LinkedIn too. So you got to sort through all the crap to get to the good stuff. But from a professional standpoint, a lot of people talk about this concept called personal branding. I never really been a big fan of that term, right? Personal branding is your reputation online. That's simply what it is. Yeah. Right? Personal branding was never an expression before LinkedIn. I never heard of the expression personal branding before LinkedIn. But personal branding, I mean, if we're going to say it, is your online reputation. What people are saying about you behind your back. The same thing with reputation. What's your reputation, Roy and Cameron? Your reputation is what people say about you when someone else asks about you, right? What's Cameron like to work at as a recruiter, right? What's Roy like to work at when he's not at the Tiki Hut? Like what are these things we're talking about here? But that's really what it's about. So like you have an opportunity on LinkedIn to brand yourself professionally. What do you want other people to think about you? What do you want the takeaway to be? What do you want to put out into the world? And when you think about it from a job seeker standpoint, it's an incredible opportunity if you're on the market to showcase your skills and your expertise, your point of view, have a position. Because if I'm a recruiter, which I guess I am a recruiter, and I'm looking at candidates, I look at candidates' profiles, and if I see somebody's active and they're writing like, a case study, if they're sharing a news article and adding their point of view of something specific in my industry, that shows that they're inquisitive, that they care about their industry, that they're not just going through the motions there, and they're actually vested in their career. That stuff stands out. And on the flip side of that, if you're a recruiter and you're sharing information, job seeker tips, resume tips, industry specific things, that's going to make you more attracted to candidates. Hey, I want to work with Cameron and Roy's, or, hey, I want to work with their company.
Yeah. And I think that's what, I know I've definitely been talking to Roy about it because he's very inquisitive and he, like I said, he's a notebook guy. So I know he's got tens and thousands of pages of stuff in his notebook to write something about. But, also, and I hate it because it sounds like an excuse, people get busy and things get rough. And so I know that I have been pushing that, especially on a lot of my military counterparts, is like, man, at least get your profile up to date.
Yeah, I mean, the basics, man, because I always look at someone's LinkedIn profile like immediately when I get their resume. Sometimes resumes are too long. I just want a quick like eyeball scan. Do they have those jobs with companies?
Yeah, and it's been a beast. Do you recommend any other sites, like as far as you think are just kind of on the same level, or you think LinkedIn's kind of like the premier platform right now?
No, I mean, unless you're like in tech or something and you're on GitHub and you need to get your code up or something, that's fine, but that's not really a social platform. No, LinkedIn's where it's at, man. Right? If it comes down to professional stuff.
So what, as far as like some of the relationships you made, what do you think's probably one of the areas maybe you didn't have as many relationships in that you think maybe LinkedIn has helped you the most?
Things outside of my industry, which has been really helpful. I mean, I usually stay within my swim lane from an industry standpoint, but I made a lot of connections as far as resources and door openers, and I think that's what it's really about. I'm not going to say I turned down, maybe at one point I would turn down somebody if they didn't seem like a relevant connection right away. Yeah. But you always have to be thinking like a chess game, a couple steps ahead. And I'm not trying to, take away the personal side of it here, but I'm a conduit, right? Like I'm a connection conduit. I'm a power connector. That's my superpower. That's what I do. So it's kind of seeing like those two steps ahead, like an introduction to this person will get me an introduction to the next person. And in turn, I could give value back to that original person, right? Because it always has to be the value. Correct. Right? I'm not a taker. Right. You never want to be on the taker side. You want to be, a giver, or you want to be in the middle. It's okay to take and it's okay to give. Don't be all on one side of that equation. Exactly.
And I think that's what some people maybe they misconstrue. Like I know as far as LinkedIn, as I've started to go, I've been trying to give as much as possible. And it's been nice because now that I've started to connect with a lot of people, like there's like this one author, whenever she posts something, she'll send in a message to me, which I'm sure she sends to other people. But it's nice because then I go comment on her and we end up having a really nice conversation about those things. And, because in general, I'd be in this little bubble in the military where it's like we all just talk about the same thing. Like, dang, I wish they give us a pay raise next month or, some crap like that. So as far as your company, NHP, where do you see the evolution of that right now?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So it's really interesting right now because there's not a ton of opportunities for recruiting on my side of the house. There are some, right? Ecom, product, performance marketing and media. That's like paid social, paid search. They're still going well. Anything in the DTC e-commerce space is moving. That's kind of cool. Did Roy go to get us drinks? I mean,
probably.
So the opportunity now is, how do you keep yourself top of mind? How do you keep your company and your brand top of mind with your clients and prospective clients when there's no business to be had? And the concept that I keep preaching and practicing is invaluable. How do you continue to add value to your clients when you can't have your hand out asking for business?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Right. And it's about being in front of them, being able to provide them, looking out for their blind spots, man. Right. Yeah. You got to keep it. What do they say? Keep an eye on their six. Am I even saying that right?
I got
right?
you.
Correct.
Yeah, right. And you got to like keep it, but that's what you do for your clients. You got to keep an eye on their blind spots. And how do you provide value to them and do things that other people are not, right? Like case studies, social media reviews, maybe even introducing them to candidates that might be in the market for a future to have those initial upfront, like kind of networking conversations. Those are all things you could do. And that's what I've been doing the last 6 months. And, you know, when we come out of this thing, when business starts to come back with a will, I'm going to be at the top of their list for them to call.
Yeah. And I know that's one of the things I've been listening. Obviously, one of the reasons I listen to your show is I really like the guests you bring on and just kind of the evaluation aspect of it, you know, as far as like, it's not just like, oh, you know, scratching each other's back, like, oh, you're great. Oh, you're so great. It's like, hey, man, like,
ain't no circle jerk here.
Yeah, no, we don't want the circle jerk. We got enough of those online.
There's enough of that, right? Like, and you want to just add value in it, and we're laughing about it, but the idea is to add value in everything that you're doing, man. Listen, there are shows, there are conversations that are entertainment, right? And you want to have a level of entertainment, but it has to be the edutainment, right? There has to be a good flow, a good energy, but you also have to be adding value, because otherwise, listen, if the three of us were here literally just like BSing about nothing, no one even gives a crap, right? But there has to be value within the conversation.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's kind of where, you know, the idea of the show even came is, like, I think, like I told you, is we talk about this all the time, you know, passion for what you do. Right. So people always talk about, you know, don't talk about work. That's all we talk about, but it's in a, like you said, an education platform where, like, Roy will tell me about what's going on with him and we'll talk about it. And then eventually it was like, we should do a show, man. Because I guarantee there are so many people, especially in our community, who are probably having these same conversations, and they either think they're crazy or they don't have enough other people to bounce these things off of.
Right.
And so why not provide a platform where there's two people who you can identify with, who know the struggles you're going through, who know the things that maybe you'd like to learn, and then we can move on to it. You know, like when we first started the show, we had a couple of, you know, military leaders on and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I plugged some of my the listeners, and I said, hey man, like, what do you think so far? What do you want to hear? And they're like, man, I want to hear from, like, people in the industry, recruiters, marketers. I want to hear people who that don't know what I do, and they can tell me what they do. And so I was like, okay, that's what you know, what to work. And I started
right on
doing it. But what did you say, Roy?
No, because I was going to say, like, honestly, every time we talk to somebody, I think it's very interesting. So just to give you a little backstory, one of the reasons why he didn't get certified the first time was his plan was all jacked up. He didn't plan his work, and he did not work his plan. So when you said you plan your work and you worked your plan, I think a lot of people don't get it, and they don't understand it in its entirety on, like, how important it is to just actually plan things out and actually do as best you can to stick to it and actually work it, because you're able to just see the transitions of how things actually happen. I wish to this day that I would have started off at a younger age planning things out. I know some people who do it and, like, they're too crazy with it, but I wish I would have had a better understanding of it.
I will say Calendly has saved my life. Like, I told Roy about that, and because I think where my thing came is, you know, and it's not the best way of mine to think, but it's honest, is I'm like, I don't have time to type in every little detail about this meeting because I got other shit to do. And that's why it has helped me, because now
you got to find your hacks. You got to find your hacks, man. You got to find what works for you. You got to find these little hacks, but they can't become crutches, right? And they can't become your mainstream process. And I think that's the difference there, right? These are productivity hacks, but these aren't things that you're going to rely on for sustainability. They're productivity. That'll help you, but they can't be your everything.
For sure. And I think that's what
some things are no shortcut. There's some things you cannot shortcut.
This is true.
That is very true.
So as we kind of near the end, you know, I guess kind of take a point from your show is, you know, what's some of the really hardcore advice that you think would really help? You know, as far as the audience is concerned, most of our listeners are military recruiters who are eventually hoping to break out into that sector.
Yeah. I think that's really good context there. So let me just think about that for a second in that context. Yeah. I think if you are a military recruiter and you're going to be transitioning soon into the civilian workforce, start to think about, so you want to put yourself in a position of success when you come out, right? And you want to be, one advantage that you're going to have is to recruit for an industry that you have experience in, to focus in it, right? Like, I'm not going to, like, all of a sudden go into military recruiting because I have no experience there, right? I'm not going to go into medical recruiting. I don't have experience there. So two things. One, combining something, thinking about that you have experience with, combining it with you have a passion about, because you need to have that fire behind it as well too. I may have experience in recruiting. I don't know, something I don't love to do, but if I have that passion behind it, I'm going to have every day. I'm going to be more enjoyed going to work. It's going to be more productive there. So find something when you come out of the military that you enjoy doing, that you have a passion about, and try to seek that out. Try to seek it out sooner than later. Put in the effort to find it so you're not wasting your time doing shit you don't like. There's nothing worse than wasting your time.
Yeah.
Big facts. Like I think about that all the time. It's just like, I remember one time I had an offer, like he found out that I had experience in recruiting, but then he found out I was an experienced electrician as well. Right. So when he presented the opportunity of sales, he was like, "Hey, you ever thought about like selling like LED fixtures and light bulbs?" I'm like, "No, like why would I do that?" Like he's like, "Well, you have experience. Like, do you know what an LED light is?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Do you know how to install them?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Do you know the specs on them?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "So you've been a recruiter for like a few years, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Perfect. Like, I'll hire you right now." I'm like, "Oh, wow. I would, but I kind of got something going on right now." So I really
also
think
electrician
like
isn't your passion.
It's not my passion, but helping people save their money on their electric bill.
You're just
Yep, I'll do that. Like, I can't save your money on insurance, but I can help you save money on your light bill.
Right. It sounds like a Geico commercial here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and then as always, we ask people, as far as your personal experience, what do you feel like Scared Money Don't Make Money feels to you, or sounds like to you?
Right. I think you have to be all in. I think, right. Like you can't be chasing it. You can't be doing things for the wrong reason. You can't be scared to take risks. You can't be scared to put it out there. And I think that there's a lot of times in life you have to go all in. I mean, that's what I did when I left working for the firm and I went out on my own. I went all in, man. I wasn't scared. Yeah. I mean, I was scared about certain things, but I wasn't scared. Right. I mean, I wasn't scared about the decision I made. I think that's a clear delineation there, right? Like I was scared about certain aspects of it, what if this, what if that? How am I going to do that? But I never once, ever, until this day, ever doubted the decision. I look back on it now and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And that didn't happen until 3 years ago. That didn't happen until I was like 39. And I was like, screw this. I'm done working for other people. I'm going to do this on my own.
Yeah. I'm doing it.
I'm doing it, Mom. I'm doing it. I got to tell everybody, I'm an entrepreneur, goddammit. Give me that badge. Give me that freaking entrepreneur badge. I want to put that on my shirt.
Is it a solopreneur? There's all these things that are popping up.
Just 'cause I'm a business owner, that makes me an entrepreneur. Come on, stop throwing that around, man.
Yeah. Or on one of your, or just real quick, I was telling Roy about the whole president CEO thing. You can't be a CEO of a non-publicly traded.
I don't think that. I don't think that's possible, and it hurts candidates too, man. It hurts you when you just founded a company and you're the CEO. Where's the rest of the board, man? What the hell are you talking about? You're not no CEO. That's why. I mean, my title at my company is managing director. Of course, I'm the founder. I am the owner. I am the president. I am the grand poobah, the king, whatever you want to call me. Yeah. But that's not going to look good on my business card or my resume. I'm a managing director, and that title means what I do. I manage the team. I'm the director. I'm in it. I am a player coach. That's exactly my title. Yeah. That's why I put founder in front of it. Founder and managing director. And I was very, very thoughtful and cognizant when I gave myself that title. Of course, I could have put president and CEO. Yeah. It kind of, when you're a 2 or 3 person company and you're calling yourself a CEO, it's kind of, all right, well, you're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the janitor, you're the secretary, you're the executive assistant, you're the travel coordinator. So you're going to, come on, give me a freaking break.
You might as well put jack of all trades.
I do everything, which is to eat everything.
Yeah.
No, and that's and those are things that we don't think about coming out, because we don't think as we come out of the military, we're very big on this is your title. So I like that a lot. Is that you, like you said, you put thought into it, and let that be a lesson to you folks. So. Other than that, we appreciate you. Unless you have anything else you'd like to say, Roy, do you have any parting comments, sir?
The title is what you make it. The title is what you make. I think managing director, it's a good one. You don't have to put CEO, but you make the title. The title don't make you. So and that's based off of what he just told me.
I love it, but it also gives me room to promote myself. If I have a good year, I might promote myself next year. Right? When you make yourself the CEO, there's only one way, and that's down. You're gonna get promoted.
I like it.
Right? Right now, next year, maybe I'll get promoted to CMO. Maybe I'll get a bump in salary, right? Maybe I got to talk to the board, right? Like that's the other thing too. You have nowhere to go. I joke about it, but there's some realness in there, right?
Oh no, I mean, yeah, no, 100%. And if you don't mind, how many employees do you currently have?
So I have at our peak, we had about 6 contractors working for us.
Nice. Okay. And I think that's something me and Roy always talk about too, because a lot of, as I've gone through this journey, I have been contacted by certain recruiters, and they're like, "Hey, man, like I'd love to work with you, or whatever stuff like that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I wonder like how other major folks do, but
yeah, I mean, I have no one. I don't keep anyone on a W-2. They're all 1099. That way,
cool.
There's flexibility there, and I don't want to deal with workman's comp and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's expensive. But other than that, well, we appreciate you very much, sir. I'm sure later down the road, how about I have you ask you to come on again and chat some more.
It's fun.
Other than that, been another episode of Scare Money Don't Make Money. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.